check. Alright, so I want to come out with a lesson today, but I realized it's based on something that I might rant a little about, just like the last video. However, this is going to be in the Self-Mastery series and not the unpopular opinion playlist. What are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about a certain breed of losers. There's a ton of these people. You might relate to it, and I hope you do, because you need to fucking fix it. Alright, now before we get into this video, in my last video when I ranted about the New Agers, Law of Attraction people, and the entrepreneur movement, I mentioned making sigils for specific shit. I also mentioned this in my sigil video about constantly casting for things that are kind of just little things that you would recognize, but things you don't really care about. And so in that video I mentioned, why don't you just cast to find a green pencil in your yard? And well, I did. And I mentioned that I was going to put it on the Twitter page, which I did. And so if you didn't see it, you need to go follow the Twitter. Now, I'll post it right here. My sigil was made for it to manifest in a parking lot, which it did. And here's the little suckaroo himself. And so I want to try to do something every week, if possible. And you might be thinking, how did you manifest something, making a sigil during the waning moon, bringing something to you? Now, we're going to make a video over this and that. Magic isn't as rigid as you think. However, though, not doing it in the appropriate times and correspondences is like working against the grain. You will have to work harder. And so, also for those of you who have a practice, it's way easier to maneuver. It's a lot like cooking. You know, you can substitute some things like different oils or seasonings sometimes, but to replace the actual protein of the meal, you know, it gets watered down and, you know, it's not even a meal anymore. But either way, I should just come up with one right now. I think what the next thing we should do is cast a sigil to find red dice in road, or in the road. This is going to be a little harder because you might not be able to grab it and actually have it. Now, the sigils that we do, you need to go buy a cup and just put all these things in there. I don't have one for this yet, but I will eventually. And so you might not be able to obtain the red dice. However, if you're able to pull over and actually pick it up, great. And be safe, because I don't want this to kill anybody. But we do want to cast for things that are out of the ordinary. You know, be safe. This is a lot like, you know, cooking. You know, you can cut your finger off cooking. You can catch the whole building on fire. So please be careful. You know, best bet is to just keep on driving. If you're driving, you see it, great. You know, you might actually end up walking out to your mailbox. It's going to come across in a synchronistic way that you didn't plan. Now, I planned on just finding it in a parking lot of a shopping center as I was visualizing it, but it turned out what actually happened. So my buddy was sitting in the living room when I was making the sigil on the whiteboard. I was coming up with some concepts, and that's the picture that you saw. And so he got to look at it. I don't know if he even charged it or not, but sometimes you don't even have to charge these things. As I said, the Toyota logo is a sigil, and nobody's just going around charging it. You're just seeing it everywhere. And so within like a day or two, he comes back home and he's like, oh, look what I found in the parking lot. And so it might come across in a weird way. A lot of people will manifest things, and like their kid will find something in the yard and bring it back to them. They're like, oh, look, I found this. And so you might not come across it, but it's going to find the easiest path to you. And obviously the easiest path was not me finding it in a parking lot, but my roommate finding it in the parking lot and bringing it home. And so I'm not going to mention any of that. We're already about 4 minutes in, and this is not what the video is about. But I did want to mention that I want to do sigils more often, and so follow the Twitter, because I'm going to make a sigil for red dice in the road or something along those lines, and just charge it and let it manifest. Because these things manifest pretty quickly. As I said, the pencil only took 2 days. But you have to forget about it. Okay, I'm talking again. Either way. What's this video about? We were talking about losers, specific losers. Losers who can't think. Now, I know a guy who is working a job he absolutely hates, and he doesn't do anything about it. He acts like he wants a better life, but he's the same guy that I'd always catch out at the bar rather than him being at home with his family. And I don't go to the bar. I just know it's obvious where this guy goes. But this guy was complaining about making money, and he was talking about it being evil, and he was mentioning that, you know, if you work for a job, you're a slave and all this, yet he's working a job that he doesn't like. And I was like, well, wouldn't you call that slavery? He was like, no, it's the people that enjoy their jobs. He literally said, the people that enjoy their jobs. So I asked him, I said, do you have any hobbies? I was like, what do you like to do? He's like, I like to paint. I've never heard him say that. There was nothing that would ever indicate that he likes painting, but he might do it on the side. But you know, there's some people that say they like doing things, but they don't really. But either way, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's say that he really likes painting. Now, I'm pretty sure he doesn't because of what I'm about to reveal next to you. And so I asked him, why aren't you making money painting or doing something along those lines? And he said, well, I can't make money. People don't want to buy art. Which is not true at all. There's tons of people that buy art. As I said, I buy art. I mean, this is synthetic, but there's still people that buy any kind of art. You know, there's plenty of people that I know that paint that I would love their paintings. And some of them are pretty damn expensive, and I usually end up not buying them. But that's besides the point. So this guy likes to paint, and yet he's like, I can't make money off of it. And of course, if you say you can't, you can't. And so you need to start flipping those and saying that you can. Even if you don't believe it for now, just keep on. And that's really easy to do, and people won't even do that. And so this guy again goes on talking about, I can't make money doing it. And I was like, well, you're very limited in your thinking. You're thinking of only just making a painting and selling it. Making a painting and selling it. And he was like, well, what else could I do? I was like, well, you could host some type of live show online where you have different people, have different ideas for, let's say you've got like 4 squares, right? And, someone sends in an idea for this, and he paints it, and then, it makes some big photo, something really interactive online, something that you don't see, but he incorporates painting into it. People do, like, time-lapse painting videos. Some people, Bob Ross, he made tons of money teaching people how to paint. It's called The Joy of Painting, or The Joy of the Art of Painting. And I started telling him these ideas, and he's like, yeah, you're right. And then he immediately went to go say, but the economy. And I was like, look, you can give me any excuses you want. I really don't care. It's not my life. It's not my life that is going to be changed by yours. Now, he was like, well, if I just had this, or yada yada yada, and it was just things that is like, you could go and get that. It's like cops pull over people that have a suspended license, or they're carrying a gun and don't have a license. And I've seen a few of these videos, and they're like, well, why can't you get it? And the guy's like, oh, it's too expensive. He's like, what? He's like, a $40 license is too expensive? Now, I don't know if that's how much it is. I know it's different by state, so don't come typing onto me, actually. But either way, very limited thinking. He's thinking of everything that's holding him behind rather than starting something. Now, main part of this lesson is what I didn't go over with this guy, because I said I shouldn't be wasting time on this. I'm going to make a video about it. But there are tons of people like these that are just like, I can't do this, or I don't know how to, or they blame something. And you really have to create something for yourself. You really have to try. And so the main bulk of this video I want to go over is just starting, taking action. And I know I talk a lot about, manifesting, but you really do have to take action to back that up. You can't let manifestation be your entire life and just be this fantasy. You are here in the physical world. You need to be here most of the time. You need to be making physical actions here. It's these things that determine your life. Now, these things stem out from your thinking, which is why it's important to stay on top of your thinking patterns. We're going to go soonly going to go over negative thinking patterns and flipping those around pretty soon. But this is why all of this is important. But if you're already somebody, like the guy I mentioned, who knows what they like to do, as he said, painting, you should be at least starting something. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't have the resources, I don't have the money. But you've got one thing that everybody else has, and that is 24 hours in a day. Everybody's got it. You can't argue. You can't divvy it up. I don't care how many jobs you're working. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care how many kids you don't have. I don't care how many hobbies you're actually doing and that you enjoy, but you don't want to make money off of them. If that's your case, I don't know where you're watching the video. But here's the thing. When I first started this is back when I was doing the Wealth and Prosperity series just with a microphone. I wanted to do a podcast. And at the time, I was like, well, I kind of would like to do video, but not on YouTube, as I've mentioned before. And to be honest, long story short, if I never had bought the microphone that I bought in my 6th video, I wouldn't be here right now. You have to start with what you have for now. You know, whenever I wanted to start things, I was like, well, I don't really have much to, you know, you want your stuff to look good. You don't want to be trashy with your art or whatever you're passionate about. And so you got to use with what you got. And this is something that has been instilled into me by my stepfather. Now, believe it or not, Hayden used to do YouTube a long time ago, about, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years ago. And Hayden only had Windows Movie Maker. Now, Hayden wanted bigger things like Adobe, Photoshop Pro, I wanted like Avid and other stuff like that. Sony, Adobe After Effects, and then Sony, I forget which one. Either way, I wanted all the big stuff. So my stepfather said, you need to master Windows Movie Maker. No, I didn't want to hear that. And he said, you need to learn it so well that you become the master of it, so that when you do move on to those next things, you've got so much to do. You know, some people in their art, whatever they're doing, or even in magic, painting, you know, music, they want to have like all the best stuff. But it's the people that make the most out of the least that really master their art. And so for those of you who think like, I don't have anything, you're in the perfect spot, because as soon as you start having things, you're liable. It's like, you know, when you get a job, then when you get a car, you know, those negative people are like, well, you know, if I didn't have a car, I wouldn't have the job to drive there, or I wouldn't have to be paying these bills. You know, you shouldn't be thinking like that. But you got to use what you got so far. And so even though I didn't think I had much, all I had was my laptop and the instilled microphone with it before I bought the external one, the what was it? Audio-Technica 2020. What you have to do is you have to make your stuff look good. You can't just try to do everything that you want to do. You can't just fit every ingredient in. You got to use what you got, and some of the things that you got, you also have to leave out. Just because you have it doesn't mean you need to include it. And so, what do I mean by this? So I could have used my webcam on the Mac, however, not very good quality. I'd rather listen to somebody with a still picture in the background than watch a webcam video most of the time. And a lot of people are like this. And I do know that there's also good videos out there from people who have shot from webcams that have great information. However, though, if those people really want to expand their influence, they should really work, as they already do work on their content, they should work more on presentation. And that is something that I tried too much at the beginning. And for some time, I felt like my content was lacking because of it. And so that's why the Wealth and Prosperity series was a big practice for this. You see, you just have to get the ball rolling. You have to start. And a lot of people want to be ready to start their dream. And it is a come up. And usually when you're starting it, it doesn't end up the way you thought it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be like this. I didn't think I was going to have just some random corner studio setup talking on YouTube. At first I thought I was going to do a podcast on SoundCloud, and then I thought I might have done a video podcast like on, you know, some other website or blog that I had created. I thought about blogging actually instead and not even putting my voice into it at all. And it got to the point where I was like, I just need to start something and use what I've got. And so what did I have? Well, I had Ableton. I was able to record things. I was able to, you know, edit sound, other stuff like that. And if you don't have Ableton, which Ableton's expensive, I think now it's about $2,000. You can always use Audacity. You know, I still use iMovie, believe it or not. I don't know if you see when the words pop up sometimes, but I only use iMovie. And I record the audio through the microphone, and the microphone's hooked up through Ableton. And so that's really all I used. But in the beginning, all I did was use Ableton and talking to the computer. And I put a picture up that I tried to put as much work I could into. Well, no, back then it was the people walking across. But there was one part where there was like bricks and I had my logo or whatever. But either way, you just have to start with what you've got and start experimenting. It isn't until you start experimenting that you get the experience. As I said, a lot of this stuff is like cooking, you know. Your first dish isn't going to be the best, and you're going to keep on practicing. You're going to get the hang of it. You're going to realize that it's all in the wrist. And that's really what it comes down to. And so for those people, for all of you losers out there who actually know what, see, there's some people out there who try so hard to know what they want to do. And if you're one of those people that actually knows what they want to do and you're not acting upon it, is the most foolish thing I could think of. And so look at what you have and start. As the guy in the beginning of this video, if you're a painter, well, I assume if you like painting, you've probably got some paint, you probably got some canvas or something to paint on. You may have a sketch pad, whatever. If you don't, you probably don't like painting. If you don't have the means to get what you want, then it's not a priority. A lot of things are just priorities for people. People will make their job up at Chili's a higher priority than their own dream. As I said, this guy literally wanted to make more excuses to not do his dream than do it. How stupid does that sound? And those of you who agree with me, be like, yeah, I understand that, but we were also all in that place too. And so I don't want to dog on them. However, though, if you are one of these people, you need to wake up and look at what you have. And even if you don't have anything, I know it's hard to see what you have. A lot of people have a problem seeing that, but there are also some people who literally don't have anything, who are just skating by. And so it's really a matter of priority. It's really a matter of how much work you're willing to put into it. How much does it matter to you? Painting doesn't matter to that guy at all. As I said in the beginning of the video, I would have never known that he liked painting. He's never mentioned of it. It was probably just I want to sound like I'm into something and I'm not just some loser, which he's just a big loser. And I hate to say it, but a lot of people are big losers. I was a big loser. I'm kind of still a big loser. But you got to start with what you have. If I didn't grab the microphone and if I was dwelling on like, well, should I do this? Or maybe I should get the camera. I worked up to this. These lights, this camera, the microphone, everything stemmed from an original thought. And it's that thought that you have to act upon. Everybody has all these thoughts all day. Like, oh, this would be a good idea. They don't matter at all unless you do it. Because if I hadn't had done it, this wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. The suggested videos down there, you may see them on another video, but you wouldn't be seeing them right now. You wouldn't be looking down, seeing the description. You wouldn't be seeing me here. And so, as I keep repeating myself, you got to use what you've got. And until you have more, you really should master what you have before you reach the next step. As I said, I was podcasting for a while. I was trying to work on my frame of mind when I'm speaking. I was trying to work on, believe it or not, this is something I don't think I've ever spoken of, but I failed English every year through high school. I wasn't good at essays. I wasn't good at speaking at all. You'd probably believe that. And it's funny that I'm doing this. And so this is a challenge for me that I wanted to overcome. And so throughout that, I was trying to master myself on my speaking. And then I upgraded to the camera. And even in that first video, I was all awkward and all, But, you really work up to it. Your dreams, you really do have to roll them. You have to keep on getting it rolling. I can't just leave the channel for 2 months like I did, expecting anybody to come by. I've been posting every Sunday now recently, and I've had more views than I've had since I started on YouTube. I think it's actually funny. I have that ringtone that goes off in public, and people try to talk to me, and I'm like, yeah, I don't watch Rick and Morty all that much. I've seen a few episodes, but I don't really watch it. Okay, so back to what I was talking about, because I completely forgot. Either way, I was talking in circles anyways, as it was. So I'm glad that interrupted me, because I need to stop talking. Either way, I hope I got out everything in this video. If I don't, I'll make another video about it. There are also some things that I want to go over that I didn't go over in the sigil video, but as I said, magic's not as rigid as you may think it is. And the one thing that I didn't mention in the sigil video was don't cast it during the void of course moon. Now, I sometimes cast to bring things into my life during a waning moon, but I don't think I've casted things during the void of course moon and they didn't work. I can assure you of that. They at least never worked for me. I didn't think about it until now, but yeah, I've only casted for 2 things during the void of course moon, and haven't showed up at least. It's been a good year. But either way, I'll be back next Sunday. I'm not sure with what. I planned on talking about a few things in this video. However, the guy that I mentioned earlier kind of changed that all around, and I realized that I needed to talk about this because, while I talk about purpose, a lot of people are like, well, what the hell do I do? You just start with what you have, and if you don't have anything, you need to get some shit. You need to get a lot of shit. You need to get all that shit and start doing something with that shit. But either way, if you haven't seen me ranting for 39 minutes and 56 seconds, I think, then click this video right here. And the video before that, I think, is the sigil video. Yep. And you can go and watch that. And I suggest you go watch them both, as they're both pretty great. If you like this video so far, click here to subscribe. Make sure you share it with your friends, whatever you do. Actually, don't share it with your friends. Just give me a like. And I will for you all to prosper and have a great day.